The applause stopped so abruptly that Ellen's producer thought the sound system had failed. One moment, Ellen DeGeneres was celebrating National Organ Donation Awareness Month with her usual enthusiasm, her audience of 300 people engaged and supportive. The next moment, complete silence, as a young woman in the front row whispered 7 words that would change everything. He died at 15, but his heart never stopped beating. The words hung in the studio air like a sacred prayer. Ellen's smile faded slowly as she processed what she'd just heard, her wireless microphone trembling slightly in her hand. For decades, she had been the master of maintaining show momentum, but something in those words stopped time itself. It was Wednesday afternoon at the Warner Bros. Studios in Burbank. Ellen's Hope Lives On segment was being taped, the set decorated with symbolic hearts and inspiring messages about the gift of life. The energy had been exactly what producers expected: uplifting, educational, filled with the kind of meaningful content that made Ellen's show a force for good. But sitting in the front row, clutching a worn hospital bracelet and a small metal heart pendant, was someone whose presence would transform this ordinary Wednesday into television history. 20-year-old Emma Rodriguez had traveled from Denver with her aunt, carrying a story that would stop Ellen's show and create the most powerful moment about love, loss, and the miracle of organ donation ever captured on television. Emma was a college junior studying nursing, with long dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold both profound sadness and incredible strength. She wore a simple white blouse and dark jeans, clothes chosen carefully for this moment she'd been planning for months. Around her neck hung the pendant that had belonged to her younger brother, a small silver heart he'd worn since childhood. The show had progressed normally through its opening segments. Ellen danced through the audience with her characteristic energy, celebrating stories of organ donors and recipients who had found new hope through the ultimate gift. She interviewed a celebrity who had become an organ donation advocate after losing a family member, creating the kind of awareness that saved lives. During the Hope Lives On segment, Ellen had been highlighting the importance of organ donation registration. She'd spoken with several families whose loved ones had become donors, sharing stories of how one person's death had given multiple others the chance to live. The atmosphere was both somber and hopeful, honoring loss while celebrating life. Then Ellen noticed something that made her pause mid-sentence. While other audience members were listening attentively, the young woman in the front row was staring at something in her hands with an expression of overwhelming emotion. Her shoulders were shaking slightly, and she seemed to be fighting back tears. "I'm sorry," Ellen said, interrupting her planned segment. "I can see we have someone in our audience who might have a story to share." She approached Emma's row with the gentle concern that had made her beloved by millions. Emma looked up at Ellen with eyes that carried the weight of unimaginable loss and unexpected hope. She held up the hospital bracelet and pendant, her hands trembling as she prepared to share the story that had brought her across the country. Her aunt, sitting beside her, nodded encouragingly through her own tears. "My name is Emma Rodriguez," she said, her voice barely audible over the studio's perfect acoustics. "And this bracelet belonged to my little brother, Miguel. He would have been 19 this month." The studio began to quiet as audience members sensed they were about to witness something profound. Ellen knelt down to Emma's level, bringing herself into this young woman's world with the instinctive compassion that had defined her career. "Tell me about Miguel," Ellen said gently, her voice stripped of all performance and filled with genuine care. Emma took a shaky breath, looking down at the pendant before meeting Ellen's eyes. "Miguel was my best friend, my little brother, and the bravest person I've ever known. He was 18 when a drunk driver hit his car 3 months ago." The silence in the studio was now complete. Ellen felt her own eyes beginning to water as she watched this young woman summon the courage to share her deepest pain on national television. The doctors said he was brain dead, but his body was still strong, still healthy. Emma's voice grew steadier as she continued. "Before the accident, Miguel had always talked about being an organ donor. He said if anything ever happened to him, he wanted to help people live." Ellen reached out instinctively and took Emma's hand. The gesture was natural, one human being offering comfort to another in the face of unimaginable grief. "Emma," Ellen said softly, "what happened after that?" Emma held up 3 fingers, tears now flowing freely down her face. 3 people, Miguel saved 3 people. His heart went to a 16-year-old girl who had been waiting for a transplant for 2 years. His liver saved a father of 3. His kidneys gave life to a college student who had been on dialysis since high school. The camera operators instinctively moved closer, understanding they were capturing something extraordinary. Ellen felt something profound shift in her chest as she processed the magnitude of what this family had given in their darkest hour. "Emma," Ellen whispered, "how are you holding up?" "Some days are harder than others," Emma admitted, clutching Miguel's pendant. "But then I remember that somewhere out there, a girl my age is playing soccer because she has my brother's heart. A father is tucking his children into bed because Miguel's liver is keeping him alive. A student is pursuing their dreams because Miguel's kidneys gave them freedom." That's when Ellen made a decision that would define this moment forever. She stood up and walked to center stage, her mind racing with an idea that seemed impossible but felt absolutely right. "Emma," Ellen announced to the studio, "what if I told you that one of those people is here today?" Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "What do you mean?" Ellen walked toward a section of the audience that the cameras hadn't focused on yet. "Ladies and gentlemen," she called out, "we have someone very special here today. Someone who owes her life to Miguel Rodriguez." In the 5th row, a 16-year-old girl slowly stood up. She had shoulder-length blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a radiant smile that seemed to light up the entire studio. In her hands, she held a letter that had been carefully folded and unfolded many times. The studio erupted in gasps of amazement. Emma's legs gave out, and she sank back into her seat, staring across the rows at the girl who was alive because of her brother's heart. Her aunt wrapped her arms around Emma as they both began to cry. "This is Sophia Chen," Ellen explained, her own voice breaking with emotion. "3 months ago, she received Miguel's heart. She wrote to your family through the organ donation network, and when she heard you were coming on the show, she asked if she could be here." Sophia began walking toward Emma, the letter clutched against her chest. The audience parted to create a path, many of them openly crying as they witnessed this impossible reunion. As she approached, Sophia's own tears began flowing. "Emma," Sophia said when she reached the 3rd row, "I've been waiting months to meet you, to thank you and your family for giving me my life back." Emma stood up shakily, unable to fully process that she was looking at the girl who carried her brother's heart. Sophia was vibrant, healthy, glowing with the kind of life that Miguel had made possible. "This is the letter I wrote to your family," Sophia continued, offering Emma the worn paper. "But there's something I've wanted to tell you in person, something I couldn't put in writing." Ellen stepped back, allowing this moment to belong entirely to these 2 young women. The cameras continued rolling, but this was no longer television. This was miracle, love, and the continuation of life in its most profound form. "What is it?" Emma whispered, reaching out to touch Sophia's hand. Sophia placed Emma's hand over her chest, where Miguel's heart beat strong and steady. "Every morning when I wake up, I feel your brother's heart beating in my chest, and I promise him that I'll live the life he can't. I'll chase every dream, love deeply, and never take a single heartbeat for granted." Emma felt the steady rhythm beneath her palm and broke down completely. This wasn't just a heart beating. This was Miguel, still fighting, still giving, still loving through this beautiful girl who had been given a second chance. "He always said he wanted to help people," Emma sobbed. "Even as a little kid, he wanted to be a doctor, a firefighter, someone who saved lives." Sophia smiled through her tears. "He did save lives. He saved mine. And because of him, I'm going to medical school to become a cardiac surgeon. I want to save hearts just like he saved mine." Ellen, who had remained composed through thousands of emotional moments on her show, found herself openly sobbing. This wasn't just about organ donation. This was about the continuation of love, purpose, and dreams through the ultimate sacrifice. "Emma," Ellen said, stepping closer to both young women, "your brother didn't just give Sophia his heart. He gave her his mission to help people." Emma nodded, still feeling Miguel's heart beating under her hand. "He would be so proud. He always believed that love was the strongest force in the universe." Ellen made another unprecedented decision. She turned to her production team and gestured for them to stop rolling. "This moment belongs to Miguel, to Emma, and to Sophia, not to television. But Sophia shook her head. No, Ellen. Miguel would want people to see this. He'd want them to know that becoming an organ donor means your love gets to keep living. Ellen walked to her desk and pulled out her checkbook. She returned to the two young women and knelt down beside them. Emma, this is for the Miguel Rodriguez Foundation, she said, writing out a check for $100,000 to help families going through what yours did and to promote organ donation awareness. But Ellen wasn't finished. She reached into her jacket and pulled out 2 business cards. These have my personal number, she said, giving one to each young woman. Because what happened here today is bigger than one show. This is about showing the world that love never really dies. As the episode concluded, Ellen addressed her audience with words that would become the Foundation's motto. Today we learned that death is not the end of love, it's love's greatest transformation. Miguel Rodriguez lives on in Sophia's heartbeat, in Emma's courage, and in every life that will be saved because people witnessed this miracle. The episode aired exactly as it happened, becoming the most watched organ donation awareness program in television history. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Organ donor registrations increased by 300% in the week following the broadcast, with many citing Miguel's story as their inspiration. The Miguel Rodriguez Foundation, established with Ellen's donation, has since facilitated thousands of organ donor registrations and provided support for donor families navigating their grief. Emma became the foundation's spokesperson, sharing Miguel's story at hospitals and schools across the country. Sophia graduated as valedictorian of her high school class, her acceptance speech dedicated to the boy whose heart made her dreams possible. She's now in pre-med at Stanford University, carrying forward Miguel's mission to save lives. Every year on the anniversary of her transplant, she sends Emma a photo with the caption, "Still beating strong." The two young women have become like sisters, bound together by the heart they share and the brother they both love. Emma often says that meeting Sophia didn't just heal her grief, it showed her that Miguel's love had multiplied, creating connections that transcended death itself. Ellen keeps a photo from that day on her desk. Emma with her hand over Sophia's heart, both young women smiling through their tears. Next to it sits a small replica of Miguel's pendant, engraved with the words that became the Foundation's mission, "Love keeps beating." The hospital bracelet Emma brought that day is now displayed at the National Museum of American History, representing the millions of families who have chosen to transform their deepest loss into life-saving gifts for others. Miguel's story has inspired countless families to say yes to organ donation, proving that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. Because sometimes a brother's love is so strong it outlives his body. Sometimes an 18-year-old's decision to be an organ donor becomes a beacon of hope for families facing impossible choices. And sometimes the most beautiful proof that love never dies is hearing it beat in someone else's chest. Emma Rodriguez continues to carry Miguel's pendant, but now she knows she doesn't carry his memory alone. Somewhere across the country, Sophia Chen wakes up every morning with Miguel's heart, reminding her to live fully, love deeply, and never waste the gift she's been given. The miracle isn't just that Miguel's organs saved 3 lives. The miracle is that his love created a family of people who will spend their lives saving others, proving that the greatest hearts never stop beating, they just find new places to call home. 5 years later, Dr. Sophia Chen performed her first heart transplant surgery, with Emma Rodriguez watching from the observation deck above. As Sophia's skilled hands worked to give another person the gift of life, Miguel's heart beat steadily in her chest, powering not just her body but her mission to continue his legacy. In that operating room, 3 lives converged: the donor who had chosen love over death, the recipient who carried that love forward, and the sister who had learned that some bonds transcend the physical world. The patient was a 7-year-old boy whose story mirrored Miguel's gift, and as his new heart began beating, Emma whispered a prayer of gratitude to her brother. She knew that somewhere in the universe, Miguel was smiling, watching his heart save another heart, creating an endless chain of love that would ripple through generations. The cycle wasn't just complete, it was eternal, proving that when love is given freely, it multiplies infinitely. That night, Emma and Sophia stood together under the stars outside the hospital, feeling Miguel's presence in every heartbeat. every breath, every moment of connection between them. They had learned the most profound truth of human existence, that death is not love's ending, but its ultimate transformation, turning one person's sacrifice into countless others' salvation. Miguel Rodriguez had died at 18, but his love would live forever, beating in new hearts, inspiring new dreams, and proving that the greatest gift we can give is not what we keep, but what we choose to share.